Y'all already know what it is, man.
World premiere of syndicated, culturally lit Africa radio show.
This is so.
The home of all things diaspora. Coming to Easy FM 107.5, Ahaka FM 99.5, and on television, Ocean One TV, ATV, and online worldwide. Join our hosts, Aleda Castillo and DJ Saki, every Wednesday, live at 10 p.m. GM time. Meet the who's who in Ghana and who is coming to Ghana of culturally lit Africa. Find us online, #culturally lit. World premiere of syndicated, culturally lit Africa radio show. The home of all things diaspora.
Welcome, everybody. Are we on the air, DJ Saki?
Yes, we're on air.
You are listening to Culturally Lit Africa, the only radio and TV show in Ghana for all things diaspora. This is your host, Aleda Castillo, and I am joined by our award-winning radio show host, DJ Saki. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a rainy day inside Elmina, Central Region. It has been raining for some days now, but now it has stopped. So we are enjoying the weather.
Oh, that's so nice. It's about 100 degrees in New York City, and I am not happy. I want to be in Ghana where there rain. So we are joined today with a special guest, Mr. Mike Ward. He just says, call him Mike. We want to be like Mike. Mike is from the United States of America, and he is moving his business to Ghana or expanding in Ghana. And we wanted to learn more about that. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you two doing?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
It's my honor.
So first of all, let's tell the audience, who is Mike? Who is Mike Ward, and what does Mike do?
Okay. Who I am, or shall I say what I am first, is a man of God. I am a sold out soldier for the Lord. What I do is a little bit more complicated. I am the chief executive of ULTRA-TEK Solutions Deployment. We've been in business almost 20 years. We are a professional services company that specializes in project management and staffing. We also have an NGO, and it's called International Oversight Consultants. What we do there is that we support NGOs with their back office and their project management endeavors. I'm the former CEO of PMSG, which stands for Project Management Solutions Group. We've done most of that company did more work in the federal government with the United States.
Okay. Awesome. So with the project management and staffing, does that mean that you are going to help companies staff people, or what exactly will you be doing with that, with the staffing?
Well, with the staffing part, we're going to be utilizing the locals in order to work on some of the projects that the companies are having. What we've noticed is that there are a lot of projects and a lot of employment opportunities, but there's a disconnect between the companies and the local people to get to those jobs. So we hopefully can be a vehicle for that.
So how did you notice that there was this disconnect? Is it a disconnect from the companies, that foreign companies in Ghana, or even the local companies in Ghana?
More the foreign companies, because they don't understand the culture. For instance, they didn't vet very well, in my opinion, and in my team's opinion. For us, we took our time to understand the culture from an anthropological standpoint and from a social standpoint. You know, what are your beliefs? What are your forays? What are your values? Everything that involves going into a new culture. Since Ghana is on the precipice on some huge opportunities, we had to learn how to assimilate and acclimate into that society, as opposed to putting ourselves or impressing ourselves onto the culture itself. You wouldn't be very successful with that.
So that's one of the things that I hear too, is that from the diaspora community that's living in Ghana right now, it's very common. Repeatedly, I hear, "Oh, this market does not service us, or this area doesn't understand us, or this," and then inevitably the reaction from the local is, "Well, it's not about you. You're coming here to learn about us and to do business with us, and this is Ghana. This is not America." So how do you balance for the locals to keep the culture and make that strong, and then for us from the diaspora to not seem like we're pushing ourselves onto, or our own culture onto Ghanaians?
Well, with anything, you have to learn the culture. For instance, I was in the military for a very long time. And the first thing we do in any engagement is we do reconnaissance, or we do vetting. We go in and we find out what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. Just any SWOT opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So what we had to do was form relationships first. Now, this may sound weird, but COVID actually helped us with that, because we started in 2019 going into African countries, and Ghana was the best country for us to go into. So when we started doing our research on where to go, how to go about it, and things like that, we found out that there were a lot of people who wanted to talk, but they didn't know that we wanted to know them, as opposed to us impressing ourselves upon them. Mm-hmm. So that was a shift in paradigm on how relationships were being built. And so we just started talking to folks left and right, up and down, started joining different Facebook groups, African Americans in Ghana, expats, internations, those types of groups that you can actually interact with these people and learn about them, not about the opportunity, not about the business, not about the economy, but learn about the people. First, you start individually, then you expand out to the culture. There are different cultures there. There are so many rich cultures. The people in the Volta region are completely different from the people in Kumasi, who are completely different from the people in Elmina and Cape Coast, and who's completely different from the people in Accra. And then you've got the different regions and the different paramount chiefs and their beliefs and their ways, the Ashanti, the Ewe, the Akan. So you have to take all that in. So it wasn't a question of us impressing them with, oh, we've done this and we've done that. That means nothing. It means nothing. It's another venue. It's another place. What we had to do is say, okay, tell me what's important to you. Once we know what's important to you, then we can have a meaningful dialogue instead of me talking to you or you talking to me. We're actually communicating. And that was the most important thing we had to do.
So when you're doing this research, so basically, if I'm understanding you right, you essentially did your research on two things. One, what is the best African country to start doing business in? And then two, further your research to understand that Ghana, or how to do it in Ghana, if Ghana was your choice. How did you come to the conclusion that Ghana was the best country to start with?
Well, diaspora was a no-brainer. Plus, Ghana is the best English-speaking African nation on the western coast of Africa. We looked at Senegal, but there would be a learning curve there because it's predominantly French. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was the biggest thing. Ghana was so much history with it, so we had to get more or less scientific with it. Mm-hmm. I mentioned earlier that we had to go culturally use cultural anthropology. Excuse me, tongue-tied. Yes. And then from there, we had to go back, and Ghana's been around for thousands of years. You're not going to change it. It's not going to happen. Right. And so when we did cultural anthropology, we said, okay, where did it start? How did it start? What was the progression? What were the meanings of these things that led up to this? And then once we had a baseline there, then we said, okay, let's look at the social anthropology of things. How people interact. How do they do business? How do they make friendships? How do they make relationships? Once you understand that and let them know that it's about me wanting to get to know you, it was a different conversation that we were having. Plus, as I said, we started 2 years ago. So I've seen people get off the plane in Accra and had all these plans. And as soon as they touch ground, it's like, oh, I'm home, and forget everything that they planned. Doesn't work like that. They should have had relationships built. They should have had people waiting on them. They should have had mentors. They should have had tutors. I do. And so that was the biggest disconnect, communication, that we found. So
you're talking about basically assimilation, really, the process of assimilation into another culture, right?
That is correct.
And the assimilation is not. So you're talking, in order for the business to be successful in doing their business in Ghana, they have to learn more how to assimilate socially and culturally, is what you're basically saying, before
That's
you
exactly
even
what I'm
offer
saying.
the business, right?
Business was the absolute last bullet point on our agenda. We had to know the people. I mean, we've done business in Europe, we've done business in South America, but it's different. You have to understand the culture. Once you understand the culture, everything else is an open door, if you know how to open that door.
Now, here's my question on that, because how do you budget for learning a culture first? How do you budget for that?
Spend a lot of time in a library, first of all. Well, there are two things that we had to do that was completely different than any other engagement that we've done. We had to be purposeful ignorant. In other words, we had to wipe away all the lies and all the misconceptions that we've been told here in the United States about not only Africa, but especially Ghana. And once we did that, we had a clean slate. Once we had a clean slate, then we could ask more meaningful questions. So to budget for that is, very difficult. You can't. You just say, okay, I'm going to put X number of dollars away to go and do this, but you have to be light on your feet. You have to be quick on your feet in order to understand what your goal is and what you're trying to achieve. Now, there have been some dead ends that we've run into because people weren't exactly accepting of us at first, because there have been many who have come there that were only there to get what they could get and leave. They weren't investing back into the community. They weren't investing back into the people. We're not looking at things like that. You can't be in project management, manage a project, and not include the local right skills. It just doesn't work like that.
So we know that people historically have come to Ghana in Africa in general and taken advantage of the labor, right? We're going there for the cheaper labor. And what you're talking about is, hey, we go in there, we do business, we extract whatever we can, we leave, and we don't deposit anything into education or any other services or what have you. And so that has been happening for centuries, right? So it's nothing new. I think that certainly when we go there, we can appreciate the lower cost of labor, but how then, you mentioned that you started to remove that preconceived notions that were established before about Africa before you came. But how do you balance that? Because I don't think that you could erase it all completely. You have to, you can't erase the biases completely. I think it takes like 100 years of boot camp to do that, no?
Well, when I went to boot camp, it seemed like 100 years, but yeah, pretty much. Again, communication is the key. You have to get in there and get your hands dirty. For instance, I'm coming to Ghana on Monday. It's my third trip in 6 months because I have to come back and I gave my word I would be back in a certain time period. So it's not the first time that you come there that makes the impact. It's the other times that you come that people see that you are committed to what you're saying. Anybody can say anything, but it's the action behind it. So when you have, going back to your question of preconceived notions, Yes, everybody has biases. Everyone does, but you have to fight that off in order to know what your goals are. Now, our three goals were very simple: attain business, maintain business, and sustain business. But in order to do that, you have to have relationships. Very simple. And long as we stuck to our goals and not get sidetracked by all types of dramatic events, which unfortunately happen in Ghana as well as anywhere else, it seemed to be pretty focused. Now, again, I'm a military veteran. So veterans have that discipline about them and the wherewithal to getting tasks done. So our resource management was where, okay, we're only going to spend so much money in this, so much money on that, and see what the rewards are going to be. Did it happen on the first trip this year? Absolutely not. Did it happen on my last trip? Yes, it did. Because now people saw that my team and I were coming back and we were investing ourselves instead of our monies. Now, of course, we spent money, but we were investing ourselves, our time, our personalities, our presence, our continence, everything. That's what counted. And so now in this next trip, the doors have widely opened, whereas before, I don't think we could have gotten that far without showing up the second and third time and so on.
So how can you determine how many times you need to visit before you do business? I have an ebook coming out that it's called From Visiting to Doing Business in Ghana. And I understand that process for me. I mean, this is my 5th year coming into Ghana, or 6th year. And so it wasn't right away that you dive in. How do you expedite that process, that learning curve from visiting to doing business in Ghana?
Well, first you have to make your discipline of business known. For instance, mine is in professional services. There are a lot of opportunities in professional services for what we do. So that wasn't a very hard sell. The biggest thing was the disconnect from your other skills to what we do. But what we also did was we went to the different universities to talk to people who were going into the profession. Like we went to a session. I never can say that university name.
Asachi University.
You win. Anyway, so we went there. We went to Kwame Nkrumah. We went to the University of Ghana, and we talked to them. We wanted to know, I mean, you're taking these classes. You want this degree. What then? The worst thing you can do is graduate, and as soon as you get that diploma, as soon as you get that sheepskin, you have that now what syndrome come over you. You don't know what to do. There's no goal. So we had to make sure that we put in a type of infrastructure to where, okay, you're employed doing this now, but do you have aspirations to be here or aspirations to be there? Let me put that in front of you. The same worked for us in the military, where, okay, I'm an enlisted man, but I want to be an officer. So these are the steps that have to be in place in order for me to get to that goal. So once we put goals in front of people, and I hate to use this term, but a carrot in front of the horse, but it works. But once you put that goal in place, then you had meaningful conversation. Then people would ask you, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? What do I need to do that? So that's how we engaged a great deal by putting things in front of people and saying, this is how you get there. This is what you need to take. These are the courses you need to study. And these are the outside books you need to read on. Here's a library card. Use it. So we were effective in that manner.
So I think that's a good start. And I assume that you'll be doing more of that. When you come to Ghana now, you said you'll be there on Monday. How long will you be in Ghana?
I leave. I can only keep so much in my head, man. I leave August 12th, so I'll be there
August 12th. Okay, so you're going to be there from almost a month.
I think it's kind of like a month. Yeah, a month.
Over a month. Yes.
Yeah.
Over a month. Yes.
Over a month. So what do you expect to accomplish during this time?
Well, we've already made inroads with a couple of entities to work on some contracts. So that part was not, that we already have. But we're still trying to expand our footprint in creating relationships, not going after business, but creating relationships. Ghana is a relationship mecca.
Yes.
You know, your uncle works here. Well, you know what? I need to get there. Let me talk to your uncle. Let's go, you know, break bread, talk about it, and then go meet your uncle. So once you understand the values of anything, the values of anybody, and how that area or that culture works, it wasn't that difficult. And me, I tell a lot of jokes, so people just push me on. So it's working, and it has worked to where you just talk to them and you say, I want to try and do this. Please tell me. And I found that when you ask people to help you, or more importantly, to mentor you, they take that very seriously. Oh, I'll mentor you. I'll teach you how to create your strategy to do this. I've got so many responses, positive responses, from people saying, okay, I don't know exactly what you do, but I know someone who does. And it wasn't a question of money. It wasn't a question of I want this or that. It was a question of, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Okay, I know somebody who does that.
Well, we know that that's always a good thing, and wanting to not only welcome the diaspora, but also welcome the business that's coming. But we know that while people are very helpful and want to give us information, that they also understand that there's an end game to that, and that is you're going to set up business, you're going to employ people. You hope to that when you build the relationships, it's eventually mutually beneficial, not only socially but also financially, right? So
yes.
How do you determine then who you hire for your own company to help you in this endeavor, or how do you determine how many people to hire and when?
Well, I'm in project management, so which means I'm in resource management. That part isn't so difficult. What we found was more difficult was the time management and the time sensitivity of things. For instance, most Americans or most diasporans go there and say, okay, I want to do this, and this. But it is not in their rhythm. It's not during their beat. I'll give you an example. You have a company in New York, and you have a company in California, and they're doing the same thing. They both get the same amount of work done, even though in New York it's hustle, 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 but in California it's laid back surfer dude. Hey man, but they both get the same amount of work done. Now, my dad told me that everything works by a rhythm. Everything works by a time. So once you understand that rhythm, and of course, we're rhythmic people, but once you understand that rhythm, once you understand the way things flow, that's when you can be successful. I didn't plan on closing any business my second trip. And I'm really, if we weren't called in, I'm not planning to close any business now. I'm taking my time, and we're taking our time to understand the different people, the different mindsets, the different tribes, the different beliefs. That's a process. And we're not looking to just make money and go away. We're looking to be a part of and contribute. That's not going to happen in 3 trips. That's not going to happen in 6 months. We've laid out an 18-month plan in order to put ourselves in position to, instead of us looking for business, business is looking for us. It's a different change in the paradigm. But if you do it correctly and you include others, everybody's in.
Is it possible that you would invest this time and research in networking and building relationships, and at the end of, say, 12 months of flying back and forth from the US to Ghana, that you learn that it's not good to do business there?
I haven't seen that yet. I can't make a credible answer on that, so I can't tell you that.
So then if you cannot give the credible answer, then it tells me that more times than not, you make that 18-month plan is because you're almost sure that at the end of that plan, you're going to be successful.
Exactly. Yes. If we do things if we don't rush our plan,
Mhm.
anything that's rushed will never come out correctly. It just won't. You put it on a schedule, you put it on a chart, you say, okay, by this time I should be here. But then you have to bounce it off of someone who is going to in and say, hey, will this work? You have to get input from all sides. You know, I could tell you that, oh yeah, I'm going to get there and close business in 9 months. That's not realistic when you're going into a new culture. It may be realistic in the Western world. It's not realistic in Ghana. And then you have to bounce it off of people and say, okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And you have to be open-minded enough to adjust your strategies in order to move forward. If you don't, you die.
Are there companies there now that are doing what you do?
In Ghana?
Yes.
Our research has shown that there were no other project management companies of color there. Now there are project managers, a lot of project managers, but no project management companies specifically. So our SWOT was like, okay, now what? Because we had no real, I won't say competition, but we had nothing to measure our SWOT against. So we were just saying, okay, so since we're the only ones, as far as we know, then let's go create relationships. Those who know project management or those who know program management will understand what you're talking about, and they'll come to you, and as soon as you come to them. It's one of those professions where you say a couple of words and people will, understand what you're talking about.
What you're talking about.
I had a good lunch, man. It was great, but but I wish I was in Ghana. But you can't rush the process. When you rush the process, you will miss something. You have to have a clearly defined goal and a clearly defined modus operandi in order to go forward.
So, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? I want to know if you are willing to collaborate or partner with some of the local companies over here.
Of course, I'm in project management. You have to take resources from different places in order to address that. So I don't mean that in a humorous way, but yes, we have to. You can't just bring in people from outside. It's cost prohibitive. You have to use the thing that we found was, most lacking, if you want to call it that, is the level of experience in my field. You may be well educated, but you don't have any time in the game. For instance, it's the difference between theory and true application. Theory says, okay, write it up on the board, tell me how that's going to work. You write it up and say, okay, now go out there and make it work. Not a lot of people can do that because they don't have that, because now you have to factor in things like other people, other departments, stakeholders, other people. So yes, we have to hire from Ghana specifically and exclusively in order to be successful, or else we won't be very successful at all.
If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Culturally Lit Africa. This is the only radio and TV show in Ghana for all things diaspora. And this is Aleida Castillo, your host, and I'm joined by my guy on the left or right. I can't tell how you're seeing it on TV. DJ Saki, and then Mr. Ward, yes. CEO ULTRA-TEK, and then you have an NGO also.
Yes, IOC, yes.
Yes. So we're talking about you doing business in Ghana, and you're in the project management, and you just mentioned about people having the experience of study, but not the experience of application. And we all know that when there's a lot that you learn by doing that you don't expect to happen in theory, right? So
that's correct.
So, and then you also mentioned that there are companies that are in the project management business that are not owned by people of color. It's safe to say that it's European whites or Asian companies, or what did you learn in that?
They don't look like us.
That's it.
You don't look like us. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Woo! Okay.
You know, I was specifically looking for somebody with a haircut like mine. Didn't happen. So
Okay, so now you're looking for bald people. Is that it?
hey, if you can do the job, sure.
Yes. So
No, I am looking to build up my people. I'm looking to build up the profession, but also build up the resources. You just can't come into a place where you have educated resources right there. You have to give them the opportunity to work. For instance, I've been in project management over 35 years. I know I don't look like it. Definitely don't act like it. That's another story.
Yeah.
But and I've seen a lot of things. I think my personal portfolio is somewhere in the $20 billion range, but that's not to brag on it. That's to say I've had to have time in the game. But I've also had very good mentors, very good teachers, and I still have mentors in the stage of my career. So, but what is lacking that we saw is not enough experienced people in the profession willing to turn around, give back, and show others how it's done. You could draw it up on the board all you want, but show me how it works. Not everybody does that. Nor is there the opportunity to do it. Well, we're trying to make the opportunity for that to happen.
So one of the reasons why I started Culturally Lit, and the Culturally Lit series is, well, it's a play on words, right? But it's culture and literature, right? But being literate in culture, because there's culture in every corner. There's the block has a culture. Your neighborhood has a culture. Your city has a culture. Your company has a culture, right? Your family has a culture. Then there's your historical culture, where you were born, your ancestry, and there's all these things that oftentimes politically the disconnect continues, right? And it seems that when I speak on culture, I often think about what you just said, which is people not willing to share what they've learned. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because is it the culture? The thought is that if I share what I learned, then I will knock myself out of the game if I teach someone what I know?
I'm going to try and give a diplomatic answer on that. Selfishness is probably the most diplomatic answer I could say. Because, okay, like I'll put it another way. If you get blessed with something and you hold on to that blessing and you don't give it to someone else, your blessings stop. Trust me, I've been there. But if you get a blessing, you get what that blessing means, and you pass that blessing along, blessings will always come back
Come to you. Right.
And it's an ever-flowing thing. So if someone is selfish enough to hold on to something that really is not theirs, it's knowledge, it's experience, there's no price with that. You just can't hold on to that. You have to pass it on. I mean, you can't be 100-year-old project manager. First of all, you would end up being the project. You know, okay, is he alive today or what? So no, but you have to pass along what was known. You have to create a legacy. You have to give it to the next generation. If you don't, everything you're doing stops. IT, for instance, good example. IT advances 7 years every 6 months. I don't know about you, but my head would explode trying to keep up with that. But there are others that know that. So you have to pass that knowledge on, or else you're not relevant.
I'm glad you brought IT, because one of the issues that I have with IT in the U.S. is that, yes, technology is very fast. Turnover is I mean, like what I need to know 6 months from now is already here, right? So, and I'm behind in the game already. But I think that in the U.S. we have gone drastic in that now, if you're 40 years old, you're too old to work in IT. It's almost like the hunt for younger and younger people. How do we determine the balance? Because I think that when you go that way and you have all mostly young people, you miss that wisdom that created or allowed for longevity from the older people. At the same time, you know, I can't remember, you know, a 7-digit number. So I know that there's some limitations, right?
Me too.
So how do you you know, how do you balance that? Because, you know, yes, we have to pass it on, but I think that what you mentioned, the selfishness, I think there's also a level of like, you know, the cost and time to invest in training new people, and that it's better to just keep things the way they are.
The biggest thing that we found in Ghana was human interaction. I don't care where you are in IT. You have to have that human interaction. If you don't, you're just going to be talking to yourself, which a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. But as far good example on that would be, go to a restaurant and you've got 4 20-year-olds sitting there at the table. Are they talking to each other? No, they're on their cell phones.
Right.
And they're right across the
right.
That is the most frustrating thing I've ever seen is, okay, why can't you talk to me? Why can't I talk to you? What's on your mind? I mean, your thumbs are going to break off or something.
Facebook keeps asking me what's on my mind.
Sometimes you go to a party and everybody will be holding his phone.
Yes. Yes.
Then why go to the party?
Because I want to know what's on everybody else's mind.
Yeah, well, human interaction is becoming a lost art nowadays because the art of conversation, the skill of conversation is going bye-bye. Yes. The only profession that I can think of that requires communication, well, two, is entertainment and comedians. Everybody else can just shut up. That doesn't work. COVID has shown us that we've been locked up for 18 months and people are going crazy because they don't have that interaction. I mean, churches, good example. The church I go to, I got to get me a hug. I got a fellowship. I have to get around people. But once you go to online service, you get the message, but you don't get the fellowship. And to me, the fellowship is much more important. And you can't, in the message that you get, it could be a good message, but how can you go out and apply it when you're not hanging out with anybody or you're not dealing with anybody else but yourself? Now, again, COVID prevented that. But now that we're coming out of it, we can now interact with people. But now it's a hiccup. It's a misstep. Okay, so how do I do this?
How do you in the field? So let's say you have a storefront, right? And it's ULTRA-TEK, you know, the project management people. And I come in and I just moved from New York to Ghana and I want to work with you. And I say, hey, I would like to work with you. And you say,
what do you bring to the table? What are your qualifications?
I bring my time, my experience in business development, and my ability to do business to business sales. Can you hire me?
Okay. No. Because the one thing I wouldn't hire you. Because the one thing you didn't tell me is that I know the people that I want to sell to. So no, I'm not going to hire you. You have to know that you have to know your client base. You have to know who you're going after. Just because you have a PhD doesn't mean anything if you can't apply it to the local economy or the local client base. It means nothing. It doesn't.
Well, the PhD that I have is the poor, hungry, and driven. So right after my name. So that is how I know how to relate to the local people. I've been there for 5 years, going and staying there for extended amount of time. And I know where we connect and where, how we're more alike than we are different. Does that help?
That's a different conversation, but yes, it does. Then I would say, okay, sell me. Okay. If you can't sell me or my business, then you can't sell my business to anyone else.
But I just walked in. You're not even going to give me a chance, like, to train me or something on your business? You're going to want me to sell you on? Well,
you're asking me two different things. First, you did not put out there that I've been there 5 years. Then I had to grill you to find that out. And then I had to say, okay, sell me. Well, if you had some technique that I knew, because I'm in Ghana, or I'm in that culture, that, and you know that culture, and you're in that culture. If you knew the right hot buttons to push, sure, okay, this is how we do things. But
so then
you
you're
didn't.
saying, you're basically then telling me that I have to, before I walk in your door, I want to do the research on your company and what you're looking for, and then understand if I'm able to deliver that.
Yep.
Right. So
Pure and simple. Yes.
what if I don't get, by looking at your services, I still don't know exactly what you're looking for? Do I come in and say, hey, I'd like to interview you to find out what you're looking for? Or do I say, hey, are you hiring? Can you give me a job description or a listing?
Or maybe you are
Well, the
training
job
me.
description will be. Well, the job description will be there, but one thing that was not mentioned in this interaction was internships. We could do internships because doctors have interns, engineers have interns. I know, I'm an engineer. So you have to be interned before you could be on the front line. Now, something like that, sure. But if you were, I don't know, construction worker. Well, that's a no-brainer. Okay, there's a lot of construction going on around here, and I'm in the construction business, or I'm running a project that's dealing with construction. I'll put you in front of somebody. Now, one thing that I also didn't mention is that I can refer you to someone in order for you to get get yourself up to speed to what we're doing, if that's what you want to go. Remember, earlier in the conversation, I said if you give someone a goal and the ways to get to that goal, then you're helping them. If you're saying, if this person wants to jump from 0 to 100, no, right? No, you got to put time in. You got to put time in the game. So you could do internships, or you, and the relationships that I mentioned earlier. If you have those relationships built, you can say, I can't use you, but I can put in a good word for you down the street, because you know what? In order for me to be here, someone put a good word in for me. So again, if you hold on to your blessings, your stuff stops. But if you pass that blessing along, your rivers will still be flowing. So depends on how that person presents themselves will determine whether I want to interact with you or my team wants to interact with you or not. If you come in saying I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, okay, go slice some bread. We don't want you.
You know,
and but seriously, no, I wouldn't.
So I'm almost 50 years old. So, and I have to go, I'm going to Ghana and I want to work. And I am not of an age where I can intern. I have to pay bills and I have to eat. And Ghana is a daily cash economy. So is interning a real feasible, realistic avenue when everything is so expensive in Ghana? To say, and I say expensive, I mean that, you know, we don't have that ability to just, you know, invest the time unless you're retired and wealthy already and you want to spend some time learning something new.
I got a good answer for that. Wisdom and time in life. Those things are invaluable. You may not be qualified in what we do, but you may have the wisdom to help other people learn how to conduct themselves in a business environment, or you may have the wherewithal to know how to interact with clients and things like that. Just because you're 50, it doesn't mean anything, except to me, it means that you're at the advisory age to where you could talk to people and know how to talk to people. You know, my mother used to say there's no such thing as an old fool. If you're old, you're no fool. So the same is true. You have that time in life, that wisdom to bring in. It all depends. See, you keep throwing these little caveats, and I'm saying, but if someone just says, hire me, I'm great, I can sell all this.
No, yeah, I hear you. And I throw those caveats because people, you know, either people will say one of those or none of those or some of those. And I, you know, also I think it is for the purpose of having people learn what is it that a company that comes from the US will be looking for in the people that apply? Because people are looking for work and they want to get paid jobs. And a lot of these companies that come from the US will be new to Ghana, and maybe some of the services will not be not necessarily all new, but it'll be done in a different way. And there's always going to be the learning curve, and there's always going to be that time that has to be spent in training people. Even if you're here, a new person, a seasoned person, requires some training when they walk in. So I'm just wondering if there is another avenue besides internship, like for example, the paid training that you see somebody like, you know what, this person is not 100% qualified, but I want to take a chance on this person, and they can intern, so let me do maybe half of the salary or something for a period of time until, that kind of thing. Or do you just say, no, you want to wait until somebody's ready before you pay them a salary?
No, I don't look at it like that. First of all, you have to come in with the right attitude and with the right mindset, and you have to use your humility in order to come in and say, I am willing to. See, if you're not in the mindset of being willing to, if you think you're just going to start off being a director of whatever,
right?
No. But if you come in with the attitude, a humble attitude, and say, I don't know this, but I am willing to learn this, then you got my ear. Then you've gotten my attention. Okay. If you're just saying, I'm going to come in and sell this, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I want to come in and be a boss.
Yes.
Yeah, kick rocks. I don't need you. But if you say, I don't know everything, but I think I can contribute, and this is what I come to the table with. Again, Ghana is relationship based. So you may not be able to run a $20 million project, but maybe you could be part of the support staff to say, okay, you could file the paperwork, you could do the admin work and things, or you can interact with the client and say, okay, tell them a few jokes, take them out to lunch, whatever. But there has to be some soft skills that you bring to the table that will get the attention of me or one of my people to say, hey, let's try this person out. You just can't come with hard and fast qualifications that have not been applied anywhere. You got to have that people skill. So that brought me to the soft skill question and soft skill conversation. Part of a lot of what you do in project management and determining in terms of staffing is the government here does also on county levels and local levels with different companies and staff. They call it, they prepare, they have staffing services, they have job developing and also training workers to be job ready, and teaching soft skills and teaching. And one of the things that I would often hear is that even with 18-year-olds graduating high school or even the first 2 years of college, young people are not ready with the soft skills are just not there. They have the knowledge, but they don't have that soft skill. Is part of what you provide training in soft skills to the new people or to companies? No. Soft skills have to be developed in your early years. Like I said, put this thing down and pick up a conversation. If you can't talk to me, how are you going to talk to somebody else? Soft skills are you can learn it, but you have to practice it. You just can't walk in one day and hold a conversation with someone. No, you have to learn how to interact. You have to know how to communicate. And like I said, this thing, don't cut it all the time. Oh, somebody called. Okay. But some things just don't happen overnight. You have to come to the table with something. And the kids at the table, talk to me. Talk to them. Attitude and continence means everything to me. It does. Right. It's not so much if you're qualified, are you willing to learn? And if you're willing to learn, are you willing to sacrifice? Not sacrifice, but are you willing to put the time in to learn this profession or to learn this job? Attitude is everything.
Can I ask you this question? Ghana is a country that we believe in qualification and certificate. So how are you going to do this over here? Because we actually don't believe that this person can learn and make an impact, but we believe in certificates, and qualification.
The most knowledgeable people.
That is our problem over here. A big one.
The most knowledgeable people I've ever worked with or trained under or was taught didn't have certificates. They had experience. They knew how to apply that experience. A certificate is just that, a piece of paper. But the attitude and the willingness to learn, that's paramount to me. It just is. If you can't deal with me, how are you going to deal with my client? Because you're representing me.
DJ Saki is correct. I think Ghana is at a greater level than going to New York City and saying, you have a bachelor's in this, I have a master's degree in this, I have a certification for that, and you will find a lot of people who are very well educated, but there's not enough jobs. Here, I have found myself in plenty of meetings in boardrooms with people that have PhDs and no diddly squat about what we're talking about. So, but what was most important in that scenario was to get the people with all the letters after their names and all the certificates after their names, but they lack that which you needed. And when I try to make the point that if we hire more people that necessarily didn't have the certificate, or the PhD or the master's, but actually could do the work, then we would be better off. And that's very hard for people to see, to be flexible on.
Okay. One technique that we use that has worked well is that we'll bring somebody in for an interview. We'll sit them down and we'll say nothing.
What do you mean you'll say nothing?
Look at them. They look at me.
You'll say nothing?
Nothing.
You'll say nothing.
Nothing.
And they sit there and you're looking at you.
Yep.
So we'll sit here like this and just say nothing.
What you're trying to see is their willingness to wait for you to say something, their patience, and how they approach you, how they address you. If you are you going to say something?
No,
get up out of here.
I'm going to leave.
No. All right, see you. But because the same is true with a client. If you're not willing to sit there and wait for the client to tell you what the problem is or what they want, how are you going to sit in front of me and do it, or not do it rather? So there are different techniques in order to understand that. Now, yes, certificates and CVs, they can open a door, but once you get in the door, what else do you do? Because you're representing that department, you're representing that division, you're representing that company, you're representing me.
Yes.
How are you representing yourself?
Well, I have hair, so I can't represent you.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt.
Okay.
You are so many levels are wrong with that.
I think we have the aspiring MP, the candidate for PPP, Mr. John Sterling, having his comments. Can you read a comment for us, Elena?
Sure. He says, Mr. John Sterling says, I think he likes the right attitude thing, because a lot of people have the ability to adjust and adapt if they're allowed to also ask questions during interviews. He also says that in Ghana, people are not thought to learn by research and experience. You learn by parroting your teachers. So how do you overcome that culture? Or how do you navigate within that?
The most honest answer I can give you is that I don't have an answer for everything.
Right.
I'm still in the learning curve myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to understand. This is 6 months into an 18-month trek. So there are some things I do and don't. And another thing that I really press upon my people is make mistakes, admit those mistakes, be accountable, and move on. You learn something.
Yes.
So for that scenario that you just brought up, it's great. Yeah. But be able to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you're not afraid to make mistakes, you'll be around here. If you are afraid to make mistakes, then we won't grow.
I want to thank you for coming to the show. I know DJ Saki, you have something to say.
I have one more question. This is a different topic. You are coming to Ghana on Monday, and you're going to spend a month, and maybe with some few days.
37 days. 37 days.
37 days.
Like that, yeah.
Panafest is just around the corner. Panafest is just around the corner. Are you participating in 2020 Panafest?
Are you participating in Panafest?
I heard him.
Yes, I'm gonna make him participate in Panafest.
Okay, so she answered my question, your question. But yes, okay. I definitely plan on participating. As a matter of fact, I purposely made my trip to be a part of Panafest. So yes, I will be here for that.
Okay.
I want to thank you for joining us. I want to invite you back. I think the values that you bring, not just with project management, but beyond that, is important. Is important and important to continue the conversation. And I think that we can have those discussions where we expand beyond the title and the certificate, but really what you naturally bring to the table that you can add value to people. So I appreciate, if there's anything you want to say, any shout out or any, you're coming on Monday. So what should people have ready for you? A resume? Okay.
Food, a lot of food.
What is your favorite Ghanaian dish? Your favorite Ghanaian dish?
Yes.
All of it.
What is your favorite?
What is
all
it?
of it.
Which one?
Yes.
Which one is your favorite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta pick one.
Okay.
Fufu.
Okay. I like yes. I haven't had a meal I didn't like. A Ghanaian meal.
Really?
I didn't. Yes.
Okay.
And, and there's a lot here that I got to do something with it.
I had to get used to the Ghanaian food. My favorite is light soup, and only cooked by Essie, a culturally lit house. You're gonna have to take him there, DJ Saki, when he goes. I will. You have to make it to Elmina and Cape Coast.
I've been there. There is one thing.
Yes.
I loved the meal, but it was weird. It's like it was a fish that was looking at me as I'm eating it. It's like,
what happened?
I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, but I'm hungry, type of thing. But there is one thing. Well, every dish I had was phenomenal, because there's a lot of pride that goes into a Ghanaian dish.
Yes.
And you could tell it. You don't have to season it very much, not at all, actually. And so I drank all that in. So for me to say yes, because I liked everything, I may not remember the name of it, but I know the stains on my shirt told me what it was. So it was pretty good.
So here's what I want you to do. I am going to give you some homework. I want you to take some pictures of 5 different dishes that you don't know the names of right now. When you go, you take the picture, you say, this is what I ate. And then I want you to become your own food critic. And then you're going to come back and you're going to tell us what you ate, the name of the dish, and what happened. Did you stay standing up and felt good? No bellyache or anything like that?
This is a big homework.
Actually, I'm okay with this homework.
Are you okay with that homework?
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, we're going to have a seminar in November to invite as a mutual matching with businesses. And we want you to come back to Ghana at the end of the year and participate. And so we hope that you will. And thank you again for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. DJ, you got the last minute. Take us away.
All right. So it has been a great conversation, and it has been the Culturally Lit radio show. Yes, I really, really enjoyed today's conversation. And I should say thank you very much, Mr. Mike Ward. We are hoping to have you once again on the show.
And get beaten up like this? I don't think so.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Ghana time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Goodbye,
Thank
DJ.
you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My name is Aleida Castillo. You're listening to Culturally Lit Africa. I am your host of Culturally Lit Radio Show.
I'm an open book, really just looking to create opportunity for people.
If you're a great singer and you don't have a good character and you don't know how to talk to your musicians, you will always change musicians.
If you have a church,
yes,
or maybe a crusade, and you mention that Jesus is black, you might lose all your members. I'm telling you.